Good morning. Good morning. Shabbat Shalom. And Greetings to the 12 tribes of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who are scattered into the four corners of the earth, and the 144,000 who are among them, who are being prepared to give a last final warning to Babylon, to call the true children of Yah out of Babylonian worship. Greetings. Greetings to the Gentiles who have been grafted into the scattered nation of Yah's chosen. Greetings. Blessings also upon those that work in the healthcare field and the first responders who are all the time trying to save lives. Blessings upon them, and blessings upon those that pick up garbage, those that make deliveries for our convenience. Double blessings on the men and women trying to deliver, to rescue, to help the victims of child molestation and pedophilia, the victims of pornography and child pornography, the victims of prostitution and child prostitution, the victims of sex slavery and human trafficking that is happening all over the United States and many places of the world. Blessings upon those trying to rescue them, and double curses. May they rot in hell, the ones that are the perpetrators, the profiteers, and the perverts who are trafficking in misery every day. Finally, blessings upon the homeless, 600,000 people in the United States, including children, and millions around the world, millions of people, including children, with no roof over their head, who have been crapped out in this Babylonian system. Blessings upon them, for theirs is the kingdom. Greetings to the chat and all the brothers and sisters who are here in the chat. Listen to your body, Naviska 23, Arka Wakban Stephen Kelly, Gary Joseph, Righteous is the Way, Sister Wade, Chaplain Lewis, Don Hines. Praise the Most High Yah for all of you. All right. First off, let me apologize for last night. One other thing I always say, I am still learning. The best thing any teacher can do is still learn. We can't teach unless we learn. And sometimes, or most times, we learn from mistakes. I should not have allowed myself to be distracted like I did last night from some knucklehead coming in. Not the one with the pornography one. We expect that as the one with the religious, the one that was probably a Christian that was coming in. But one of the things I learned aside from, I usually don't. Y'all know I don't usually allow myself to be distracted like that. I don't know if something happened last night and I allowed it to happen, and I apologize. But there was a good question brought up, a good issue that we should cover today, really, before we get right into Revelation, as I promised you. So the issue is this. Again, we understand as we are awakening, as we are the true Hebrews awakening, we understand that all of us have been brainwashed. All of us have been under deception. All of us have been bamboozled and hoodwinked. All of us have. If the devil deceiveth the whole world, then all of us that are coming to truth and awakening are coming out of darkness into marvelous light. Part of that darkness is a strong brainwashing. Let's just give you a small example of the strong brainwashing. The Hebrews that were taken from West Africa, from Judah, and brought into the United States, first arriving on the shores of what would become the United States in 1619, right? And so for more than 400 years, we've been told several things that have affected us. We've been told that the Messiah's name is Jesus and he's white. Have we not? We've been told that we are subservient to white Jesus and his people for 4 centuries. We have been told that we're supposed to be the lower class, that it was ordained that way, right? All of these things affect us. And then when you go into the doctrines of Christianity, we still struggling, some of us, to eat pork. We learned that from them. We didn't eat pork in Africa. We definitely didn't eat pork in the land, but we learned to eat pork. And some of us still struggle with that. And Christianity taught us there's a Trinity. There's the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. And Christianity taught us that there's a man that's coming that is the Antichrist. of one man that's coming. That's the Antichrist. Okay? And so we have been affected. And I think anybody can reasonably understand why, okay, you're born and you're jet black in your skin color. You're jet black in your skin color. Everywhere you have gone in the United States, people are going to, and look, everybody should understand this. This is the truth. When you're dark in the United States and you walk somewhere, they look at you funny. No, I mean, tell the truth now. You go somewhere and there's Caucasian people, when they see you, especially the darker you are, the worse. See, somebody like me, I've caught it too, but not like the darker people. Darker people, they walk into a place and everybody's looking with suspicion. You get you that, and you can't tell me, you cannot tell me that doesn't affect how a person looks at themselves. That doesn't affect their relationships, all their relationships. And it's been happening for 400 years. See? And then the time when we were brought here in slavery, with all of these things being bombarded on our heads, our names being changed, our religion being changed, and now, like, the masters didn't have to worry about us going too far. Why? Because we had the skin, the lips, the nose. Our very appearance marked us. And the darker, the harder. The darker you are, the harder it is. Okay? Then they got us divided among ourselves. Because why? The master would rape some of our women, and we come out looking more like me or Malcolm X, and they take them and exalt them above the other slaves, so that the slaves started hating each other. So that the woolly hair became a curse. And what they call it, do y'all know? Oh, you got that good hair. What's good hair? It's good hair that's closer to the European hair. So that everything that was our natural became hateful to us. And we start hating each other. That's what, I just gave you the tip of seriously, that's the tip of the iceberg of what 400 years has done just in the United States. I'm not even talking about Brazil. I'm not even talking about Haiti. I'm not even talking about Dominican Republic, where they bleach their skin to avoid dark skin. I mean, we're not even dealing with all of the other stuff. The rape of black men by slave masters along with black, we're not even going there yet. But I'm just giving you the tip of the iceberg of how we were affected. So all of us, that's why it's a miracle, brothers and sisters, for us to be awakening to who we are. It's the beginning of Yah's miracle. What do I mean the beginning? Because for us to have been brought from the land of Israel into Africa, into slavery in various nations, under the power of the children of Japhet, for us to be brought into that along with the creation of a false group calling themselves Hebrews and being accepted by the world through Japhet's power to be called Hebrews, and they're not. You bring all that, and then we scattered. Our names changed. We can't even tell you what our original names was. And to be brought back, and to come to your mind, as the Bible says. And it shall come to pass when all these things come upon thee, the blessings and the curse which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind. For it to come to our mind like that by the Spirit of the Father, for us to be, now we're going to be reconstituted. There's going to be, the Bible calls it a restitution of all things. There's going to be a restitution of the children of Israel. Ezekiel show you in Ezekiel 37 when he talks about the valley of dry bones, and he prophesied to the dead bones, and the dead bones came together, and the Most High told Ezekiel, this is the whole house of Israel. That's a miracle. That's a miracle. That's a miracle. So the fact that we are awakening to who we were, where we come from, what we are, that's a miracle. You understand? And so I bring all that up to understand that we have to understand that there are people still in darkness. There are people still brainwashed. There are people still that are and they will argue with you. It's interesting. Again, my man Malcolm, right? One of his speeches was, I listen to his speeches almost every day. I'm just telling you, this is how much I revere Malcolm X. But I understand he was ignorant of some things, and I understand he's not where I am today. But for where he was ahead of his time. And so I listened to a lot of his stuff. I listened to a lot of his speeches. And one of the things he said, the black man has been trained like a dog. He said like this. He said, if a dog is in the street, even a mean dog, it won't mess with nobody. It'll walk behind people. It won't mess with nobody. Right? It won't mess with you. But if you get that dog in front of its master's house and you walk on the master's property, the dog will try to kill you, right? The dog will attack you. And he said, we've been trained like that. He said, a brain, what he called them, what do you call them? He called them a house Negro. He said the house Negro, he said the Uncle Tom, he called them Uncle Tom Negroes. He said the Uncle Tom Negroes will fight harder for their master than their master can fight for themselves. He said, if I see an Uncle Tom Negro in the street, he won't say nothing to me. But if I speak against his master, he'll defend his master harder than the master can defend themselves. And he said he will never defend his own people, but he'll always defend his master's system, his master's religion, his master's everything. He will always defend his master. And brothers and sisters, I'm saying that to say this: all of us have been Uncle Toms before we learn the truth. You want to be honest about it? All of us have been Uncle Tom. We defend the master's white Jesus. We defend the master's religion. We defend the master's country. We defend the master's system and civilization. And he was talking, and it's interesting. He was saying how the awakened Hebrew, the awakened black people will say the government. The Uncle Toms will say our government. And he was making fun because he said they talk about our astronauts. And he said, they won't even let you near the plant. And you call yourself, astronaut. But you see, that's how we were all brainwashed. That's how we brainwashed. Well, and then when you start seeing it in other countries, what they call it. This is what they call it. Colonization. You're being colonized. Is that correct? Right? Am I using the right term, brothers and sisters? They call it, you've been colonized. What's colonized mean? It simply means you've been brainwashed on location. That's all that means. Colonization means you've been brainwashed on location. So in other words, we've been taken into the master's house and we've been brainwashed. They stay in their own land and they've been brainwashed. That's all. Colonization is brainwashing on location. That's all it is. You understand? So all of us are coming out of darkness when we are being awakened by the Spirit of the Father. Okay, we're being awakened, and we can see now. Look, the original words of this book were written by Hebrews. Okay, look, let's look at it. Let's look at it, and I think it's First Peter. Let's see here. I think it's First Peter. Let's take a look real quick. And I'm sorry, I don't want to take too much time because I promise you I want to get into Revelation today. We're going to get into it. But I want to just tell you these things. Here it is, 2 Peter. 2 Peter chapter 1. 2 Peter chapter 1. So here, Peter or Kapha is bearing witness of what he saw on the mountain when he saw Moses and Elijah. He's bearing witness on what he saw. And he's bearing witness on the prophecy Messiah told him about himself. So let's start at verse 14. Of 2 Peter chapter 1 and go down to verse 21. Verse 14, knowing that shortly I must put off this my tabernacle, even as our master Yahushua the Messiah showed me. Moreover, I will endeavor that ye may be able after my decease to have these things always in remembrance. For we have not followed cunningly devised fables when we made known unto you the power and coming of the master Yahushua Messiah, but were eyewitnesses of his majesty. For he received from Yah the Father honor and glory, when there came such a voice to him from the excellent glory, this is my beloved son, in whom I am well pleased. And this voice, which came from heaven, we heard when we were with him in the holy mount. We have also a more sure word of prophecy, whereunto ye do well, that ye take heed as unto a light that shineth in a dark place, until the day dawn and the day star arise in your hearts. Knowing this first, that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. For the prophecy came not in old time by the will of men, but holy men of Yah spake as they were moved by the Holy Ghost. So look, the set apart spirit of Yah impressed Hebrew men and women, but mostly men, to bring forth the word of prophecy to his people. There was no Gentile men, Hebrew men. Okay? Now, so all the words that we read in this book came from Hebrew men. But then we were scattered, and we lose our identity. We lose our language. Our names were changed. We forgot who we were according to Bible prophecy. We forgot who we were. Okay? Wait, Deuteronomy. I ain't going to leave you without some witness. Deuteronomy chapter 32. Deuteronomy chapter 32. And Moses is really giving this, early, obviously, in Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy chapter 32. I'm going to begin at verse 21 and go down to verse 26. Deuteronomy, thank you. Praise you, Most High. Thank you, Yeshayu, Yisrael. Appreciate that super chat. But listen, Deuteronomy 32 from verse 19 to verse 26. I'm going to start at 19. And when Yahweh saw it, he abhorred them because of the provoking of his sons and of his daughters. And he said, I will hide my face from them. I will see what their end shall be, for they are a very froward generation, children in whom there is no faith. They have moved me to jealousy with that which is not Yah. They have provoked me to anger with their vanities, and I will move them to jealousy with those that are not a people. I will provoke them to anger with a foolish nation. For a fire is kindled in my anger, and shall burn unto the lowest hell, and shall consume the earth with her increase. Set on fire the foundations of the mountains. I will heap mischiefs upon them. Them is us, just to let you know. Them is us, okay? I will heap mischiefs upon them. I will spend mine arrows upon them. They shall be burnt with hunger and devoured with burning heat. And with bitter destruction, I will also send the teeth of beasts upon them, with the poison of serpents of the dust. The sword without and the terror within shall destroy both the young man and the virgin, the suckling also with the man of gray hairs. I said, watch this, I would scatter them into corners, and I would make the remembrance of them to cease from among men. I will scatter them into corners and make the remembrance of them to cease from among men. So we wouldn't know who we were. We wouldn't know our name. People wouldn't recognize us as who we really were, or at least let us know. Right? And again, Psalm 83, second witness, Psalm 83, beginning at verse 1 and reading down to verse 4. Psalm 83, second witness. Keep not thou silence, O Yah. Hold not thy peace and be not still, O Yah. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and have consulted against thy, notice, hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel be no more in remembrance. They take our remembrance to cease, he said, and the people will try to make our name wiped out. Change our name, change our language, right? So again, I bring up this book is written by holy men of Yah. We did not have our own language anymore. It was hijacked by the children of Yafet. We did not even know our name. And as our punishment, he had a child of Yafet translate this book into Yafet's language. You hear me? He had a child of Yafet, William Tyndale, translate this book In Yafet's language, William Tyndale was captured. He was hunted for doing that. He was hunted. He was captured. He was tortured. They tied him to a stake to burn him, and before they burned him, they strangled him after they tortured him. Then they burned his bones, and then they buried him, but then they dug up and burned the bones again. What does that tell you? That's how much Asatan hated him for what he did. So now we are brought into slavery. And the Caucasians that are reading this book, they don't understand it. See, William Tyndale translated it faithfully. How do I know? If he was going to be biased toward Caucasians, the book would be biased toward Caucasians. But we're awakening and we're understanding it's not biased toward Caucasians. Matter of fact, it prophesies against them. So William Tyndale's translation was fair and honest. And even he didn't know Yah's name. He only saw YHWH, didn't know how to say it, what it was. So he just put Lord there in big letters. He didn't know Messiah's name. He put Jesus. There was no J. He put Jesus because he didn't know. Because you know why he didn't know? As faithful as he was in translating it, he wasn't called by Yah's name. It wasn't for him to know. Let me show you the power of Yah. They brought us into slavery and taught us English. It's not our first language. It's not. We don't even know our first language, Hebrew. And you can't trust the Ashkenazis completely because they're Yiddish. But he showed us his true name. We now read this book and understand it better than William Tyndale, who translated it. Why? Because we are called by his name. That's why. We've been called by his name. It is ordained for us to teach the Gentiles this word. But first, to teach each other this word. Okay? So that's a miracle, brothers and sisters. That's a miracle. That's a miracle of Yah right there. So now, with this miracle now taking place around us, we are awakening. But we have to understand the majority of our brothers and sisters are still brainwashed. It's a miracle that we awaken, right? It's a miracle. So you know that it's a lot of our brothers and sisters still brainwashed, and they'll defend the master's religion, to the teeth, right? But what I learned last night from that person that came in, and I don't even remember their name, but they came in and said all that stuff about Antichrist. What I learned last night is we can learn even from their error. What do I mean by that? Well, when they bring forth, like last night, he's insisting Antichrist is one man. Well, now what does that do for me and you? That says, okay, search the scriptures. Because obviously he doesn't. Christians do not search the scriptures. They do not. They're taught to believe one section and disbelieve another or discount another. None of them really read the scriptures. Okay? Nobody's taught to actually study the scriptures. Matter of fact, that's what got William Tyndale in trouble. He was a Catholic priest, and only Catholic priests were permitted to study the scriptures. And that brother read them and understood this. What he was being taught as a Catholic was falsehood concerning the scriptures. Martin Luther discovered the same thing. John Knox discovered the same thing. A lot of them discovered. Miles Coverdale, they started understanding, wait a minute, what we're being taught as Catholics is not what the original Bible says. Now, they didn't know, again, they were not going to know what you and I know, because they weren't Hebrews. They were heathen. They were Japhet. But they were sincere in wanting truth. And they knew what they were following as Catholics wasn't right. Right? And so the Catholic Church consistently discouraged even their own people from fully reading the scriptures. And when you got into Christianity, all these offshoots of Rome, they consistently do not encourage you to read the whole Bible. When I left the SDA church, I had several SDAs telling me, if you trust in the Bible alone and you teach people that you are going to be lost and you're going to let other people to be lost. They need Ellen White. And they were serious. And people believed them. I mean, I know that sounds hard to believe now that you're reading the scriptures, but that was the truth. We are being discouraged from reading the Bible on our own and letting the Spirit guide us through the word. So that all of the brainwashed people that you meet, they reading parts of it and they're very ready to argue with you on the parts of it that they're guessing about. But I have learned, and that's why I apologize. I have learned, don't argue with people about the scriptures. Don't get into a debate if you can see where they're at. The advantage we have is we can see where they're at. We know because we were there, and we know they're coming out of darkness. We don't have to argue with them about that. It's like arguing with a blind man about what something looks like, and you can see. You understand what I'm saying? A blind man is telling you, no, I'm telling you, the sky is purple. He don't even know what purple is because he's blind. And you're telling him, no, it's blue. No, the sky is purple. I know, I've been told the sky is purple. My master told me that. And why would you argue with a person like that? For what? You understand? So, no. And the scripture does tell us that. Don't debate these things. Meaningless things. Don't do it. So, let's talk about Antichrist first. All right, I'm going to use just like 4 or 5 scriptures real quick. Just go through it as we're going into this. So, first we see the little horn of Daniel, right? We saw that, the little horn of Daniel. And let's take a look at the little horn of Daniel for a second. Daniel chapter 7. Now, we're talking about the little horn, right? So, it says here, Daniel chapter 7, verse 8. And I consider, Daniel 7, verse 8. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them a little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things. That gives you an indication that it's one person. Doesn't it? It says the little horn, you're thinking one individual, right? I mean, that's what you're thinking when you see it. Then it goes down further when you look at it. Verse 21, Daniel chapter 7, verse 21. I beheld, and the same horn made war with the saints and prevailed against them. Again, it sounds like one individual. Does it not? It sounds like one individual, right? And he spake, verse 25, and he spake great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a times, and the dividing of time. This is an end time prophecy. So let me ask you Hebrews, is it just one Caucasian man oppressing you? Is it just one? Have you been oppressed? First of all, let's ask the question. Have you been oppressed as Hebrew? Have you been oppressed as Hebrew? Have you been, especially you all that are the darker skin, have you felt the wrath of wearing dark skin? Have you felt it? So is it one man? No, it's not one man. Has been several individuals? Yes. All of us. I got my own stories. Refused service at a restaurant because I was black. Buying sneakers in Miami, Florida in 1972, and the white man tell me, you better buy black ones because you know you're going to steal something. Getting all A's on all tests and ended up with a B because she didn't want the only black kid to be the smartest one in the class. I mean, I can give you a million stories, and I'm light-skinned. I know the dark-skinned brothers can give a million stories, right? So it's not one person. It's a system. Let's continue, though. Let's continue. 2 Thessalonians. 2 Thessalonians. Chapter 2. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, beginning at verse 3. Verse from 3 to 11. Okay. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there be a falling away first, that the man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. Now, the falling away, as we studied, happened under Constantine. Is Constantine alone the man of sin? Is he by himself the man of sin? But that happened to falling away, right? That's under Pergamos, okay? Who opposes and exalted himself above all that is called Yah or that is worship, so that he, as the Most High, sitteth in the temple of the Most High, showing himself that he is the Most High. Remember not that when I was yet with you, I told you these things? And now ye know that withholdeth that he might be revealed in his time. For the mystery of iniquity doth already work. So he's equating the man of sin who opposes Yah with what he's calling the mystery of iniquity. The mystery of iniquity doth already work. Only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom Yahweh shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming, even him whose coming is after the working of Asatan, with all power and signs and lying wonders, and all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. For this cause Yah shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie. Again, it makes you think you might be talking about an individual. But we know the Catholic Church has an office, the office of the Pope, right? That office has existed for more than 1,500 years. Y'all see that? So many men have occupied the office, and all of them are the man of sin. But it's the office that stays. It's like the U.S. president. Every 4 to 8 years, you get a new one, right? So everyone that occupies that office is under the control of Babylon. But the office is the thing. It's not the individual men that matter. It's the office and the power of the office. The same with the Pope. It's not him. He's the figurehead, but it's his office. It's his system. You understand what I'm saying? We're not, and that's the thing. Daniel, let's go back to Daniel for a second. Because Daniel, of course, prophesied about what we're in right now, because that's why the Hebrew prophets, the Bible shows us everything. So in Daniel chapter 11, it prophesied about an institution. Notice in Daniel chapter 11, beginning at verse, and they called Rome the king of the north, Islam the king of the south. Not one person. Now, remember when we read Revelation chapter 11, remember we read, thank you, DQ. Remember we read Revelation chapter 11, and we saw that it was a system of Islam that came against Rome, and he had one leader at first, and they called Leon. That was Muhammad. Remember that? And you remember how when we saw the kingdom of Greece, and it started off with one horn, and that horn was broken into four, and the one horn was what? Alexander the Great. Then he was broken and became four. And out of one of them came forth Rome. Okay? So here in Daniel 11, watch what it says here. Talking about the king of the north. Daniel chapter 11, beginning at verse 36, and going from verse 36 down to verse 39. Watch what it talks about. Watch this now. And the king shall do according to his will, and he shall magnify himself, and he shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god. So now we're dealing with religious, right? He's not just a political. Whenever you talk about worshiping God, you're dealing religion. Okay, so now this one says, magnify himself above every god, and shall speak marvelously against the God of gods, and shall prosper till the indignation be accomplished, for that is determined shall be done. Neither shall he regard the God of his fathers, nor the desire of women. You can tell who this is, right? For he shall not regard any God, for he shall magnify himself above all. But notice verse 38. In his estate, look up the word estate. In his estate shall he honor the God of forces. God of forces. That means they come at you. Religious people coming at you. Okay? A God whom his fathers knew not shall he honor with gold and silver and precious stones and pleasant things. Thus shall he do in the most strongholds with a strange God, whom he shall acknowledge and increase with glory. And he shall cause them, it's multiple, to rule over many, and shall divide the land for gain. You don't even have to guess. Notice what people have divided the land for gain. The whole earth has been divided for gain by these people. And what religion were all of them? Were they Muslims? I mean, who came to Australia and took it over? Who came to South Africa and took it over? Who came to North America, killed the Indians and took it over? Same in Mexico, same in South Central America, same in Brazil, same in Jamaica, same in Puerto Rico, same in Haiti, same in the Dominican Republic. Who did that? When you have their churches all over the place. In fact, you go over Rio de Janeiro, you see the picture of white Jesus with his arms stretched out. Divide the land for gain. That's the Christians. That's the Catholic Church. That's the children of your faith. That's the institution. All of those things happen at different time periods with different popes, different kings. You understand? So they divide the land for gain. So it's not one person. It's a system. Antichrist is a system. Y'all following me? Y'all seeing what I'm saying? I'm giving you the scripture. So that's what I'm saying. So when you read the whole scripture and you see the whole thing, and the thing is that we have the advantage aside being awakened Hebrew, we got the advantage of this history. Just look back on our history and you can see the whole thing. Okay? What has happened is what will happen. Nothing new under the sun. They divide the land for gain. Okay? Led by Catholicism and Christianity. They divide the land for gain. How did Africa get colonized? Christian missionaries, Catholic missionaries. That's how they got colonized. Brainwashed on location. Y'all following me? Brainwashed on location. It's a system. That's right. That's exactly right, Stephen Kelly. Brother Stephen, you right. You right. See, the real fight is Messiah and Asatan. Okay, the real fight is Messiah and Asatan. Asatan created this God right here that we just read, the system, an institution. Messiah has a chosen nation. Wait, did you hear that? Okay, he's not. Messiah don't have an institution. Messiah don't have, a system. Messiah has a chosen nation, and the reason that nation is chosen is because of his father's relationship with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And he promised what? Their seed. I'm gonna make of thee, he told Abraham, a great nation. That's not an institution. That's not a system. That's Yah's promise to this man right here. I'm gonna make of thee a great nation. Okay? So we are a scattered nation among systems. And we're victims of system. We're victims of the system of white supremacy. We're victims of the system of racism. We're victims of the system of capitalism. We're victims of the system of socialism. We're victims of the system of communism. We're victims. You understand? We victims. And the Gentiles that come to this truth, part of the reason they come into this truth is because they are being honest and saying, this is a system of victimization upon this people. Because they're not even allowed to make that type of declaration or confession to anybody. You Gentiles know I'm telling you the truth. You make that declaration and confession to your cousins and see how they treat you. You know I'm telling the truth. So that's what it caused the Gentiles to realize, oh, wait, there's something there. That's wisdom right there. You're saying, well, wait, our people have done this to this people. Eventually, it's going to come back on us. There must be something about this people, and they're recognizing. And there's a lot of them coming to the truth now. There's not anywhere near the ones rejecting it now. A very small percentage come true, and they know that when they make this declaration among their cousins, among their family, they get outcast. Gentiles tell you they'll get outcast by their own family. I mean, in America, what they call it, brothers and sisters, what they say, you a nigger lover. That's what they say, right? You a nigger lover. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. The tip of the iceberg. Okay? So Antichrist is a system. It's a worldwide system that divides the land for gain. The God is Christianity, the institution of Christianity. Are you following me? That's the God that they were talking about in Daniel chapter 11. It's the institution of Christianity. Notice it said they divide the land for gain. They give it money, riches and honor and gold, precious things. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah. But that's Bible right there. And that can only come from being awakened. I cannot take credit for being smart and understanding truth. It has nothing to do with that. It's to do with the mercy of our Father to give us this spirit at this time, to wake us up for what's about to happen, the establishment of the kingdom of Messiah. Exactly. That's exactly right. So now let's get right into Revelation chapter 13. So last night we did go through 2 verses, right? And again, those of you who have been here from the beginning of this study, you're going to understand more than the people that might be here for the first time. The people that might be here for the first time, you want to go back and look at the other studies we have done leading up to today and last night. And that will give you the backdrop, because if you haven't read your Bible, right, and you're just hearing the things I'm going to tell you all today for the first time, you're going to think we're crazy. Right? Those of you that have been through the studies can understand now. Like, if I'd have brought you right here and told you the things we're going to see today, you're to think I was crazy. But we looked at Daniel first. Right? We looked at Ezekiel. Right? We looked at Isaiah. We studied those things, and we saw, and we combined it with what we learned in the beginning of Revelation, and we see where we at right now. So we understand when it talks about the dragon was wroth with the woman and meant to make war with the remnant of her seed. That's the 144,000 that keep the commandments of Yah and the faith of Messiah, Yahushua. We understand his name. We know who Yahweh is. We know he's not Jehovah. We know that. But we can only know that because we've been awakened. Awakened as to who we are. I used to read the Bible when I was a Christian and try to learn about Jesus and try to learn what the church is about, blah, blah, blah. But I want to tell you something. And those of you that have been awakened can understand, it's a whole different book when you're reading it. Understand you're looking at your ancestors, isn't it? It's a whole different, when you're reading this book and you're understanding, you're looking at your own history. You're looking at your ancestors. You're looking at your cousins, and you start to understand. You start, that's deep. This is our family, and it's your family. And then you realize Messiah is not just some white man from Europe that you're supposed to worship. Messiah is your cousin. Messiah is your cousin. You're looking at your family, your cousin. That's different, right? That's completely different. You're not looking at it the same way. You can't see it the same way ever again. Ever again. The Apostle Paul, tribe of Benjamin, your cousin, he was sent to teach the children of Yafet this truth. Yes, he was. You understand? Okay. And when you see the Hamites and the civilization they built in the Bible, even the greatest, strongest, powerful head of gold that this earth ever seen, them brothers look like you. Them brothers look like you. Yes, indeed. It's a whole different thing, brother. It's a whole different thing when you see it like that. It's a whole different thing. And there's Gentiles in leadership of their Caucasian children of Yafet religions, and they're desperate. They listen. I'm gonna be in attack now, but I ain't seen it yet. You're gonna see attacks, man. I'm gonna be listening. They're gonna make me into a child molester. They're gonna make me into a robber. They're gonna make me into a thief. And it's not just me. It's gonna be all of y'all that are appointed to teach this word, and all of y'all that are awakened. Y'all all gonna be labeled, But don't worry. That's why we're not fighting with nobody. We gotta learn. We learn not to fight with them now. We don't argue with them. We just follow our conviction. That's important. The conviction. No man has seen Yah at any time. The only begotten Son that's in the bosom of the Father, he has declared him. So we're loving and appreciating and respecting and honoring a God we haven't seen. How do we follow him then? Conviction. Conviction of the Spirit. Because one thing all of us understand, you got any kind of sense, this earth didn't make itself. Trees didn't make themselves. Babies are formed in the womb just don't happen like that from a seed. We understand there's a creator behind it. You understand? And you're convicted as the wind blows and you can't see the wind, but you can see it can do destruction. It can comfort you on a hot day, but on a day when it's blowing and it's cold, it can blow stuff away. There's a spirit. Logic tells you if there's people that do evil things, there's an evil spirit. And if you've seen anybody that's been possessed, you know there's a spirit. And then there are people that completely change. That's a different spirit. So now you understand there's a creator and there's spirits. Now you're convicted that there's a creator and that his name is Yah. And you're convicted where he come from. All you got to do, you look at the human body, man. You ain't even got to be a doctor. Just look at the workings of the human body. That's not only intelligent design doesn't do it justice, man. You know, intelligent design doesn't even do it justice. The human body, the way the frame is made, the way the brain is made, the way the lungs are made, the arteries, capillaries, heart, lungs, liver. They make all kind of machinery, cars, trucks, computers, based on the machinations they have learned from the human body. You understand? I mean, come on. Praise the Most High. So, Revelation 13. Revelation 13. Let's go verse 1 and 2. Revelation 13, verse 1 and 2. And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. So now we understand where the 7 heads came from. The 7 heads are a combination of the 4 beasts that Daniel saw, the 4 horns that Zechariah saw that scatter Judah and Israel. Okay, you understand that? So the 4 horns of Zechariah chapter 1, we saw they said those 4 horns scattered Judah and Israel. And then we see 4 metals in Daniel 2, 4 beasts in Daniel 7, right? And so these beasts represent the 7 heads that we see here. Okay, a dragon come out, right? The 10 crowns, we understand they were 10 points of power originally in Rome, Daniel chapter 7. We understand that the little power, the little horn, a little power of religious consequence caused 3 to be plucked up by the roots so that they became 7 instead of 10. But then we saw in Revelation chapter 17, the great whore riding a beast that had 10 again. But the problem with it, they didn't have no crowns. They were kings without a kingdom. I mean, that's a strange, when you think about that. How could you be a king and don't have a kingdom? Right? I mean, like I say, these are 10 kings which have received no kingdom as yet. That's an interesting statement. When you think about that, right? So what does that mean? That means they are promised things. They're in positions of power and they're being promised more power. You understand? So it's like a prince saying to a prince, I'm going to make you a king one day, but you're not a king today, right? So you have these 10 divisions again, but they don't have the kingdom yet. Now, the kingdom is this. It's a what they call it. There's a term for it. It's a zero-sum game. That's the term. It's a zero-sum game. What do I mean by that? It means either you got it all or you don't have it. That's a zero-sum game. It's winner take all. That's zero-sum game. Okay. So this game that we're in, this fight that we're in with Asatan, it's a zero-sum game. He's not considered as completely dominant until he has it all. Most High and Messiah, when they have the kingdom, they're going to have it all. Remember what we read in Psalm 37 last night? The wicked shall not be. You'll consider his place and he won't exist. Why? Because Yah and his son Messiah will have it all. It's a zero-sum game. There'll be no opposition to Yah's kingdom. There'll be no discord. There'll be no fighting for power. Okay? You have it all. Okay. So Asatan wants that. And while his spirit dominates the earth, he don't have everything under one thing where everybody's agreeing. But the Bible is showing us he's eventually, for a short time, going to have it. Okay? So now we can clearly see the opposition. Again, I mentioned China, Russia, right? Iran, North Korea, Cuba. These are opposition to the world powers, the world order. And any opposition, look at Iraq. Even if you didn't do nothing wrong, if they can picture you as opposition, you get stomped. Okay? And even when you are not doing anything wrong, but they want the oil that's in your land, they create a boogeyman to come take your stuff. That's the world power. But those powers that I just named, the Chinese, the Cubans, the North Koreans, the Russians, the Iranians, they haven't gotten there yet. I mean, they're trying, but they haven't. But from what the word is telling us, if they're going to end up with 10 crowns, and it says they rule for 1 hour with the beast, it's going to happen. The whole world's going to be under that power. Okay? Now, we're going to talk about this, but I asked y'all a few weeks ago. Let me if you remember this type of one. Did I not ask you as homework to read Daniel 3? Some of y'all was here. I said, read Daniel 3 as homework. You remember that? I said, read Daniel 3, and you're going to get an example of the mark of the beast. Okay. So in Daniel 3, you remember, Nebuchadnezzar had the whole world under his power. But he had opposition from a small group of people. Fact 3, right? Who was his opposition to complete and utter dominance? I mean, dominance in religion, dominance in economics, dominance in politics. What was the one opposing power that stopped him from having complete dominance? What was the one opposing power that stopped him? You remember that? Come on. Daniel 3. What was the one opposing, and what was the problem that one opposing power had? That's right. There was 3 Hebrew Israelites, and that's what they were. Hebrew Israelites from Judah. And they had a problem in one respect. It was the respect of worship. He wanted everybody to bow to his statue. So no matter what religion you would claim, by bowing to that statue, you're honoring that religion. No matter what religion you would claim. There could have been, if it was today, there could have been Christians, Muslims, every type of religion, Hindus, Buddhists out there. But when they bowed to Nebuchadnezzar's image, they were part of that. Whether they wanted it or not, they just acknowledged they were part of that religion. Okay. But the 3 Hebrews would not do it. And the reason they would not do it is because the covenant that they have with Yah said, first one, thou shalt have no other gods before me. Now let's see, we're setting up now, because now look, we just read in Daniel chapter 11 that the God that their fathers knew not, the heathen going to have a God. And we said it was the institution of Christianity. So that's the God of this world. That's the God their fathers set up. So if the Hebrews are not worshiping that, they're worshiping their own God, right? Yeah. So we also said it's a zero-sum game. You either all in or you're not at all. Messiah said, he that is not with me is against me. It's a zero-sum game. So for you to be on Messiah's side, you must be on the side of his chosen people. If you're not, you're not. Okay, so here we read just now, the dragon, and in verse 2, and the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet was like the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power, his seat, and great authority. So now you have this dragon, and now its body is changed into a leopard, but it's the dragon that's giving it power. It's the same Asatan. And the whore is riding her, but you can't see her in this picture. Why? Because it was showed in Revelation 17. She's riding it, in the wilderness. So she's ruling over this beast in secret. Y'all seeing that? We saw that in Revelation 17. So that's why in Revelation 13, you see it in his power with the crowns on his horn. But the whore, you don't see her because she's in secret. Remember? John said, I was taken in the spirit into the wilderness. In the spirit. It wasn't anything that was physical. It was in the spirit. So the whore is riding this beast and you can't see her. So if I told everybody the Pope of Rome controls the United States, people would think I'm crazy. But yet that's what we just saw. And obviously the people of the United States, the people of the world will not know that. Why? Because it's for the servants of Yah to know. To show unto who? His servants. The revelation is not for everybody to understand. It's for the servants of Yah to understand. Okay? So no, you're going to say you're crazy. No, you're not right. No, it's the Jews. It's communism and blah, blah, blah. No, it's the royal family in London. And no, it's the Committee of 13. No, it's the Illuminati. It's the lizard-like Illuminati. The Bible telling you who it is. The Bible telling you. But it's not for everybody to know. Okay? So let's continue. Verse 3. Well, first we understand again, the devil is controlling that beast. That beast is ruling the earth. You're seeing it now with the crowns. That means this is part of that 1 hour time that it has complete control of the earth. And that's why you're going to see what you saw with Nebuchadnezzar. There was one group that was stopping him from complete dominance the way he wanted it. Let me tell you something. It's the same group for the same reason that's stopping complete dominance here. Okay? Y'all who are awake and now understand what I'm saying. It's the same group and for the exact same reason. That's why you see in Daniel 3 an image. And you see in Revelation 13 what? An image. You see Daniel 3, Nebuchadnezzar said, bow to the image and worship it. In Revelation 13 here, you're going to see, worship this image. Y'all see that? Okay, so now, verse 3. Now, the rest of this is going to show you the history of how it got to that point. Okay? How it got to that point. Okay, so now, Revelation chapter 13, verse 3. And I saw one of his heads, as it were, wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wandered after the beast. So at one point, during the course of its history, Rome received a wound. And we know now what the wound was. Wait. What was the wound? Well, first of all, when did Rome receive a wound? First of all, you think of the history of the Roman Catholic Church. The Vatican has stood without being bombed or attacked, right? I mean, World War I was in Europe. Vatican wasn't hurt. World War II was in Europe and in Italy. Italy got all kind of destroyed, but not the Vatican. They didn't fly any planes over the Vatican. Nobody. Hitler, nobody. Okay? They didn't come at the Vatican. All kinds of wars, all kinds of strifes, that place never gets touched. So when it does get touched, it's history, right? Well, it got touched once. Berthier, French general, 1798. He comes into the Vatican and he arrests the Pope. Never happened in history. That's the deadly wound. What it said, one of its heads. Remember, there were 7 heads. One of his heads wounded to death. One of them. What did it lose? Well, it didn't lose religious power because you still had a Catholic Church. You see what it's so when he came and arrested Pope. When Berthier came and arrested the Pope, the Catholic Church did not lose religious power because he still had a Catholic Church. What you had in France is the goddess of reason, which is what we got in New York Harbor right now. The Statue of Liberty is the goddess of reason. That came from France, right? So they were talking about that. But you still had a lot of people that were Catholic. I mean, majority, right? In Europe. So now it wasn't religious power it lost. Well, what did it lose? Did it lose money? Might have lost some, but it wasn't economic power that it lost. It lost political power. Political power. And the political power was restored. It said the deadly wound was healed, giving us the history. The deadly wound was healed. Well, how was it healed? When in history have you seen any dictator? Dictators are, again, they are ultimate power. They don't share power with anybody, right? I mean, when you get a dictator, the ego is through them. I mean, forget it, right? They're dictators. They're strongmen, they call them. So you got Mussolini, a dictator in Italy. And he decided to make peace with the Vatican. He decided, I'm going to allow the Vatican to be its own country within Italy. I'm going to allow them to have their own privileges as a country. Can you imagine that? That was called the Concord Act of 1929. It was a Concord Act. It was called the Pact, the Lateran Pact. That was the deadly wound being healed. Matter of fact, the San Francisco Chronicle at that time put a headline, said deadly wound healed. Imagine that. At that time. Okay. Deadly wound healed. So now the Vatican from 1929 became its own country, which means the Pope was not only the head of the Catholic Church, he's the head of a country, a state. The Vatican is a state. They have envoys, like diplomats that come from the Vatican. They have diplomats that come to the Vatican from all the countries of the earth. Okay. So he's the head of his church and the head of his state. This is the only person on planet Earth that has that position. There's no other person. Some people think, well, Muslims do that. No, you have Muslim countries, but there's no one man that controls all Muslims. Unless you count Muhammad, and he's dead, right? But the office of the Pope controls all Christians and of any country. And he himself is the head of his own country. So just think about that strategically. You're a person or an office, and you occupy this office. You have faithful followers of every nation on earth, and you have your own nation as well. How powerful is that? You can call on your faithful followers, no matter what nation they're in, to do your bidding, because they're your followers, no matter what country they're in. You understand what I'm saying? And if you have friends that you really brainwashed, that you got under your thumb, and they become Supreme Court justices or heads of corporations, now you control them. They follow you. You hear what I'm saying? And then you still got your own nation. That's the deadly wound that was healed. Okay, so this is giving us the history of how it got to that point with the crown. So first part of history, it received a deadly wound. The deadly wound was healed, right? And they created an office, a special sect called Jesuits, to fight against the Reformation, which they were successful. They fight against the Reformation. They call it the Counter-Reformation, and they were very successful. They infiltrated all the Christian churches, and they have them all now bound back to Rome, all of them. Okay, all the Christian churches are basically subsets of Rome. They're subsets of institutions of the big institution, which is the Roman Catholic Church. All the Christians are, not just them. You got the Muslims under that also. You got the Buddhists under that also. You got the Hindus under that also. The Taoists under that also. They have infiltrated every organized religion on planet Earth as is prophesied. Okay. So now you have the deadly wound being healed. That's part of the history of it. Okay. Verse 4. And they worshipped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. And they worship the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast, who is able to make war with him? Again, I mentioned that in history, especially since 1798, nobody has been at war with the Vatican. Nobody. There's been no bombing. There's been no planes flying over it. There's been nobody trying to take it over, ever. Okay? Ever. No coups, none of that. Okay, it says, who is able to make war with him? That's the question. Nobody is. Okay, then they worshiped the dragon. Now, the Bible already showed us character trait of the dragon. One of them is he's a liar. He's a deceiver. So people are worshiping him and not realizing it's him. You see, brothers and sisters, if I create a religion, okay, I create a religion, and I have doctrines in my created religion, and I have all the people of the earth following those steps, those doctrines that are mine. They may not even acknowledge me as the leader, yet I know I am because they're all following me. You see what I'm saying? So the doctrine of man as God comes from Asatan. The Catholic Church and the Christian religion and all religions that are not Yah, the Bible tells us the nations worship idols. Yah made the heavens, that he has not shown his laws and statutes to any other people, that only the Hebrews he has chosen among all people. So everybody's worshiping false gods except Yah's chosen. Okay, that's the Bible. I'm not making that stuff up. I can show you the scriptures. One of them is Psalm 147. The other one is Psalm 147 is one. Deuteronomy chapter 4 is another one. What else? Amos chapter 3 is another one. There's others. I can give you a lot. Ezekiel, almost every prophet has it. Okay, so he's only chosen one people in the earth. So Asatan's religion of man can be God is the basis of all the other religions on the earth, including the head, which is the Catholic Church, which is Christianity. It's a man-made religion. That's why they had to change Messiah to white Jesus. They had to do that because it has to be man-made all the way. All the way. Okay? And he hates the remnant, which are the 144,000, and the woman who is Israel. He hates them. So he has to create something like them, but it has to be fundamentally different. Like in the Mormon church. You know how Moses was told by the Father to get 70 of the elders of Israel and bring them to the tabernacle? Well, in the Mormon church, they have 70 elders, and they wear funny underwear because they're trying to act like they linen priests. You see? But they're not. You see what I'm saying? They're not Levites. They're not children of Israel. They're children of Yefet. And so they have to create their own system that tries to look like Israel, but it's not. Okay? SDA Church with Ellen White from Maine, a Caucasian woman from Maine. She's not a prophet of Yah. I'm just being real with you, according to the scriptures. Only Israelite by blood. Okay? So you have these situations and things where people are making man-made institutions after the order of the great man-made institution of Rome. And by doing that, they are giving homage to the dragon, who is the originator of man-made worship. Does that make sense? So he's the original man-made worship liar. And so he deceives the earth. They don't realize they're worshiping him. And they worship the dragon who gave power to the beast, and they worship the beast. All Christians they don't realize, again, it's darkness, right? We're talking about being awakened, right? So we're talking about coming out of darkness. All of us were in this. All of us worshiped Asatan at one time. All of us did. Only when we are awakened to the truth according to Yah are we coming out of darkness into light. So you can't really blame certain people when they're coming out of darkness, especially the Hebrews, because we've been brainwashed for multiple centuries, even millennium. Brainwashed. It's a miracle when we are born again. It's a miracle when we are awakening and we're looking at this book now as our history book, as our brothers, our cousins, our family, our descendants. Okay, that's a miracle, right? So here, they worship the dragon that gave power to the beast, and of course, they worship the beast itself. They worship and honor Christianity. Okay, verse 5. And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 40 and 2 months. Now, let's understand this for a second. If the devil is deceiving the earth, and the earth is worshiping the dragon and not really realizing what they're doing, they would not recognize that what the Christians are saying is blasphemy. Does that make sense? To the intelligences of the third heaven is blasphemy. To the awakened Hebrews, it's blasphemy. It's blasphemy to take Messiah and make him a Caucasian man and change his look and then make him soft and flowery, that you're supposed to just let everybody walk all over you and stomp on you and say you love them, though they don't love you, right? That make no sense. It's not even intelligent, but that's what you're being taught. It makes sense when you don't know what's going on. When you're being brainwashed, it makes sense. Okay, so we can recognize that when somebody calls the Pope the Holy Father, that hurts us because the Pope ain't no Holy Father. Ain't but one Holy Father. It's the Creator, Yah, right? So we understand when they say Holy Father. I mean, I heard Bill Clinton says it, and I heard other people. When I hear it, it just always irked me, because I worship the Heavenly Father. There's no earthly father you call Holy Father. But yet that's blasphemy, see? But most people don't recognize that. It's a common thing that they think, and they're honoring this man, and they're honoring his church by saying Holy Father. But that's just an example, right? And then they have incense, right? You go into a Catholic cathedral, they will push the incense out there. And we understand that our Heavenly Father has a system where he has a priestly situation, and the incense represents our prayers. So that's blasphemy when you create your own situation with your own priest. You know who did that in the Bible? Jeroboam, the son of Nebat. The worst king in the history of Israel was Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, the worst one. Okay, and he created his own religion. He created his own priest. He kicked out the Levite priest that Yah had ordained to be priests in the chosen people, and he made his own priest. He made his own altar. That's what the Catholic Church did. Okay, and so that is an example. So the Bible says they worshiped the dragon, they gave power to beast, they worshiped the beast. They was giving him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies. Okay, and he continued 40 and 2 months. Now that's a deep. We're going to stop on this one, but 42 months. We've seen this number before. If you multiply 42 months by 30 days in a month, you get 1,260 days. You get a literal 3 years, and you get 1,260 years. It all fits together. So you have the Pope dominant before he received the deadly wound, 1,260 years. You see him get this power for a short time, 3.5 years. You understand? So he was permitted to do this for the 1,260-year period until he got the deadly wound. And then after he revived, it's going to be a 3.5-year period. Why? Because the 144,000 are going to be prophesying in sackcloth for 3.5 years, right? So it works together. That number is universal. It's a powerful thing. It's universal. It's used in multiple applications in the Bible. It's used in the last days for us here. It's used during history. It's a powerful symbol. Okay, powerful symbol. So that 42 months represents the time period 538 to 1798, but it also represents the last 3.5 years they're going to have the power where they're trying to kill us. And we're giving a message in sackcloth. Okay, all fits together. So I'm going to stop right here, right now, verse 5. We're going to take a break. It's now 12:33. We're going to take a break, and we're going to come back after the break. I'm going to come back at 1:15. And we'll come back and study this some more. And I want to go back right into Revelation chapter 13. We stopped at verse 5. We'll continue from verse 5 at 1:15 Eastern Daylight Time. And now I can't say Eastern Standard Time anymore. It's Eastern Daylight Savings Time in Washington, D.C. because they think to change times and laws. Isn't that right? So now it's Eastern Daylight Savings Time. It's now 12:34 in Washington, D.C., and we're going to come back at 1:15, a little less than 45 minutes from now. And we'll come back and continue our study in Revelation 13. But I want you, hopefully, those of you who have been with us in these studies from the beginning are now seeing very clearly how these things are coming together and where we are in history, where we are right now in history, and how, we're almost done, almost finished, man. Almost finished. This whole thing is almost over. Okay. Yeah, exactly. You're absolutely right, Akawa. They're going to definitely catch it. They're definitely going to catch it. Praise the Most High. All right. So I'm going to stop now, take a break. If you can't come back, it's okay. Most High bless you anyway. If you can't, we'll see you at 1:15. Shalom.